Hello, hello! What's up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am continuing my 31 days of horror movie reviews with It. It is a 1990 TV movie, or miniseries, whatever you want to call it. It was based on the Stephen King novel with the same name. This was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, and the plot is at the very beginning, we meet these 7 adults. The characters' names are Bill, Ben, Eddie, Mike, Richie, Stanley, and Beverly. And you see them, they all have their lives, they're living in different parts of the world, and until they get this phone call from one of the characters, Mike, who tells them about this little girl that was killed by what seems to be a clown. And this all brings back memories for each and every one of them of dealing with a similar clown from 30 years ago when they were all kids and they were all friends. And they have to come back. They come back together, they reunite to figure out what's going on here. What is this clown? How is it doing this? Why is it doing this? Now, what I think of it is this movie is creepy. It's messed up on so many levels. It's a good movie. It is, for so many reasons. I remember being a kid, and like, I was 2 years old when this movie first came out, so I definitely don't think I saw it then, but maybe just a couple years later. I remember my sister watching this movie. She was much older. She was watching it. I walked in like, ooh, a clown. Let's watch this. I sat down, and the only thing that I can vividly remember, my young mind can remember, even rewatching it, I remember the scene where Pennywise is in the sewer, and he's talking to the little kid, George, and he's trying to lure him into the sewer, and he's being all nice, and introducing himself, and then he shows his teeth, and he eats the fucking kid. That freaked the hell out of me when I was a kid. I'm pretty sure that this swore clowns off of me, like, oh, no more, no clowns. I hated clowns from this point forward. Whenever my mom tried to take me to the circus, I was like, no, no clowns, never. This movie ruined clowns for me. But not only that, rewatching this movie now, there's obviously a lot more going on here with the story and these characters. I actually enjoy the fact that we see all of these characters older, in their 40s, and you see how some of them are dealing with what happened to them. Each and every one of them has a different reaction, and we get flashbacks of them as kids, and not only just them dealing with Pennywise, but them as friends and dealing with life. The flashbacks were some of my favorite parts of this movie. These kid characters I really enjoyed. The young versions of Bill, for example, played by Jonathan Brandis, I liked him because he was the older brother of George, and when George was killed, he got really awkward and developed a stutter and just couldn't really deal with other kids until he met this group, found this group. And I like that. Also, Brendan Crane plays Ben, who was a chubbier kid that was picked on by the bullies of the school. One of them, Henry, the leader, was such a dick. Such a dick. Like, I've never experienced bullying on this level before, and so maybe to me it might seem over the top, this bullying, and like, oh, this doesn't really happen, but then you hear stories and it's like, okay, maybe this does happen, but it's just, it seems so bad. Like, how can anybody be this cruel to another person? Henry was such a dick. Like, I wanted the clown to kill him. That's how bad he was. Emily Perkins plays Beverly. And I was looking at this little girl and thinking, why does her face look familiar? She looks like somebody I've seen before. I looked her up, and she was on a few episodes of Supernatural, which was very cool because her character on there is very goofy and silly, awkward. So it was cool to see her here. It seems like she's been in a bunch of horror movies since then. Also, the character Richie, the young character of Richie, I saw him and thought, wow, why is this kid look so much like Seth Green? It looked so much like him. I looked it up, and yes, it was Seth Green. I was trying to think of, like, the timeline. Does it match up? Would he be young enough to play this. I guess he was, because it was him. And I really enjoyed those characters together. The 7 survivors, as they called them, and how they welcomed the black kid Mike in because Henry was being such a dick to him, calling him the N-word. If I didn't already hate Henry by that point, then he goes and does some racist shit like that. But I love that they welcomed him in. They wanted more people there. I loved when they always embarrassed the bullies and took the fight to them. The flashback stuff of them as kids really worked. When they were older, we had Richard Thomas as the older Billy, who was fine. He had the ponytail and whatnot. I think at first I thought the older actors, there was a lot of TV acting with them and it wasn't going to be the greatest. But over time, either I got used to them or I just started to like them more. Especially the older Billy. Once he got the phone call, he reverted back to his little kid version of himself, stuttering again, and that's when I really felt for the character. Tim Reed is the older Mike. Dennis Christopher is the older Eddie. Eddie's another character that I really started to like and attach to over time. Annette O'Toole is the older Beverly, and I really liked her as well. Not just because she was in Superman 3, and not just because she played Clark Kent's mother on Smallville. No, that helps. But I liked her. I thought she was great. She was very attractive, young Annette O'Toole. And I just liked how she was the one girl in this group. It made her look tougher, and just how they all thought of each other as family. Although, you do get a sense that like maybe she slept with all of these guys. I mean, they're very close, and I swear she kisses like 3 of them on the mouth a few times, and it's like, okay, I get you guys are close, but like, isn't Bill married? And he's like making out with her. I also want to mention John Ritter. John Ritter, I really enjoyed here. He's the older version of Ben. And I just really liked him because he grew up to be successful. And at the beginning, he was a little maybe pompous. But once he got back to this, again, these characters reverting back to their kid versions of themselves, I think made them likable. You could really buy them as being friends when they reunite. But I have to talk about it. Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown is so creepy, so just disturbing. I mean, it's Tim Curry. Of course, he's going to bring that. He's a horror legend at this point. I mean, some of the stuff that he's done, every time he does a horror movie like this, he pours himself into it. He fully embodies what this character is. And sure, technically, at the end of the day, he's not really a clown. He's something else entirely. And I did like the mystery of it, the fact that he had these abilities and you didn't quite know how he was doing it, or why the kids were the only ones that were seeing him, or how the parents kind of just ignored everything that was going on. You get a sense that they knew about it, but just were ignoring it. And that reminded me a lot of Freddy Krueger, the way how that worked, so I was really enjoying that. But also, I will say at the very end of the movie, because I think the creepy moments, the scary moments worked more when they were kids. I thought that was when Tim Curry, it was at its scariest. But once they got older, it was still creepy, but not as creepy just because they were older. And then the very, very end, when the movie shows you exactly what it is, its true form, it wasn't as scary anymore. I think I would have liked the mystery more, or there was something about the clown and what that was representing, that just, it worked more like that. But at the end of the day, it's still a good movie. It still is more about the character relationships, the psychology of what this would do to kids growing up. Like, I like what the writing did. I like what the story did. I do. But I will admit, at first when I heard that this was being remade, I was entirely against it just because of my memory of how scary I thought this was. Rewatching it, it's still creepy, but I do think there's elements of it that could be improved upon. It's possible that the remake's going to suck, but I will say that as much as I enjoyed this, I'm more open to a remake. I want to see what they could do different or what they could possibly do better. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the original It? Do you like it? Did it scare you? Did it make you scared of clowns just as much as well? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!
Please won't you save my desires on fire? Sometimes you need a little peace at home. So come follow me and I can lead you. Come follow me and take a trip to the dark side.